Really excited to share this video with you all. This is a full day's meal prep here on this video in real time. So we're making breakfast, our smoothies, our lunch and lunch dressing, along with our dinner and dinner dressing. So let's get into it. So here is the video I am going to be making with you in real time. Our smoothies for breakfast, our lunch dressing, our dinner dressing, and our salads for the day, all under an hour. So we're starting with 5 frozen bananas and 4 mangoes. And I'm going to just scoop these out. And again, this is in real time, so if you need to, feel free to make this at 1.5 times speed or 2 times speed if you need to, because it is a long video, but I really wanted to show how I prepare everything in the morning for the day when we have really busy days and we don't have time to make our lunch. These are always the least stressful days because everything gets done and we don't have to worry about having to create lunch and having to create dinner when we have a huge workload. So first thing in the morning, I set aside some time and I make breakfast, lunch, and dinner all at once so it's ready to go. So I like to chop the mangoes like this, and I ate the mango off the seeds after I finished filming this. But I'm just gonna scoop them into the blender. And yes, it takes time to make healthy meals. And this day I used mangoes because they were on sale. So they were about 60 or 70 cents a piece. So they weren't that expensive. And we didn't have any fresh bananas, so I did use frozen bananas for this one. I prefer to use fresh bananas when making smoothies because I don't like how cold I feel when I drink them. So a trick that I've learned over the years is that if you don't want to feel really cold, don't use frozen fruit for your smoothies. Use fresh room temperature fruit. So fresh ripe bananas, fresh mangoes, everything at room temperature. If you wanted to add berries in there, they could come from the fridge, so it's not too bad, but the frozen fruit is really where the cold comes from. So if you use all room temperature fruit, and then at the very end, after you've blended your smoothie, you add 1 to 2 cups of ice and pulse that in there, then the smoothie will feel cold in your mouth, but not in your body. It's a really great tip for those who feel like smoothies can be really cold in the winter. So I hope that helps someone out there. And just scooping these out. And again, everything in this video is for Nate and I. So we are sharing everything that we're creating. I'm going to put them into separate containers for the two of us. We each get our own jar of dressing, our own container of salad, that kind of thing, our own mason jar of smoothie. But all of this food that I'm making is for Nate and I. There may seem like there are a few areas where I'm not doing much, but I'm in the fridge, maybe I'm rinsing my hands, or like this, grabbing the grapes out of the fridge. So we're adding 2 cups of grapes to our smoothie. We like to wash our grapes when we bring them into the house, so we always have containers of grapes in the fridge that we can just grab in between work. I'll just get up and grab a couple cups of grapes and munch on them at my desk while I'm working. It's nice to have them available just in case. So again, we didn't have any fresh bananas, so we're using frozen. I'm gonna add those into the blender. And like I'd mentioned at the beginning, I'm not going to edit out any of the lull moments in this because I wanted it to be completely real time. You are here with me in the kitchen, and we are creating all 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, together on this video. So as you can see, I haven't been doing anything because I've been washing my hands and grabbing water, the purified water that we're going to put into our smoothie. So I have to wait for the water. And this is exactly like I mentioned, real time. This is the work that needs to be put in if you're going to be eating healthy. You have to put the time aside. You need to schedule it into your day. If it's important to you, you can schedule it into your day to make sure that you get your healthy meals created. Because if you don't plan and schedule the time it takes to create the healthy meals, then it's going to be order out or throw something in the oven or make something from a package because you just didn't have enough time to create the healthy meals that you really wanted to be creating. So here we are blending the smoothie. I had to use the tamper to get those frozen bananas down inside. If they were not frozen, I wouldn't need to be doing this. And most of our smoothies take very, very, very little time to make because we tend to stick to bananas, dates, berries, that kind of thing. So this one was a little bit more prep work because I had to scoop out the mangoes. But all in all, not too bad to make a really good, healthy smoothie to drink while we create the rest of our food for the day. So once this is finished blending, I separate it into 2 mason jars and a little extra in a glass if I need to. We'll just drink that separate. But all of these calories are going to go into our 2 mason jars, one for me and one for Nate. And then the leftovers I ended up drinking after finishing the video. But we're just going to fill these up and drink them while we are creating the rest of the food. Something that always helps us when we are preparing our food is to rinse the tools as often as we possibly can. Rinsing the blender, because we're going to need it next to make our lunch dressing, but rinsing the blender, rinsing our knives, rinsing our cutting board whenever we can to make sure that cleanup is a lot easier and faster in the end. We don't have like a huge pile of dirty dishes. Plus, the bonus to raw food and the fact that we don't use any oils is everything is so easy to clean. It's just rinse and dry. So here we have our smoothies, and I took a drink of that first one. It's really good. Just mangoes, grapes, and bananas. So after we poured them, I got some straws for us. I took a sip out of mine. Again, so delicious. And I took Nate's to him. He was in the garage working on his bike, getting ready to go for his morning bike ride. So I wanted to make sure that he got his smoothie before he left. And then I came back into the kitchen to continue with the prep work. So again, this is all part of the whole prep process, and it's real life. It's real life. We give smoothies to our partners and we have to go into the fridge to get ingredients. It's just how it is. So here we are starting on lunch dressing. So what I like to do when I'm doing a whole day meal prep like this, I like to start with the smoothie, obviously, so I can drink it while I am preparing everything else. Then I blend lunch dressing. Then I blend dinner dressing. And that all takes about 25 minutes total. Then I can spend the other, normally it's around 20 to 25 minutes or so, depending on ingredients and all that kind of stuff, about 45 minutes to an hour. That's how much time I spend when I do a day like this to get absolutely everything done and prepped and ready for the day in the morning first thing, so I don't have to worry about anything else. So you're tired, you're stressed out, you don't want to make food, all of that kind of stuff. You can do it all first thing in the morning when you're fresh and ready to go and you have the energy. You can listen to a book on tape, you could listen to music, you could just become one with your food and meditate as you're chopping. You can tell yourself affirmations. You could even watch a TV show if you really wanted to, but really it's taking that time to really prepare your food and create it in a decent time, because a lot of people feel like raw food can be really time consuming, but it doesn't have to be. It really depends on how many ingredients you use. and how long it takes you to chop or blend your produce. Now remember, the more you do this, the easier it's going to get and the more efficient you will be at preparing your food. So it might take a lot longer in the beginning, but the more you do it, the better you'll get. This lunch dressing is going to be like a mango date, spicy barbecue style, and I just made it up as I go. So I'm putting these 2 mangoes in here there's 8 dates. So use the 8 dates and 2 mangoes. And again, this is split between Nate and I. So to make sure that we get enough calories in our dressing so that we are not hungry right away after lunch. So got to make sure that we get enough calories in there. I'm going to put this hot pepper in there too, just because why not? Again, I was just kind of improvising when I made this dressing. Now, as for the garlic can take time to peel, and most of the time I don't peel the garlic unless it's kind of rough. I will just throw it into the dehydrator with a little bit of the skin on it, but I do take off what I can and the rest just gets tossed in there. I don't like to fight too much with the garlic. You could use a garlic press or one of those fancy rolly things that gets the skin off, but whatever you want to do. See, I'm having a little troubles with this one, and this is what adds time to your prep. If you just put the garlic bulbs in there whole without peeling off the skin, it saves a lot of time. It can save 1 to 2 minutes, and every little thing adds up. The blender does really well at pulverizing everything, so it's not always necessary to completely peel all of your garlic cloves because, again, it can take time that you might not want to be spending on that. Then I take another sip of my smoothie. I always make sure that I stop every couple minutes and take a sip of my smoothie. I don't always remember to take a sip every once in a while. I normally end up drinking about half of it during the whole process of the food prep, and then I'll drink the rest at the end. But you can do it any way you desire. If you want to drink your smoothie just by yourself, reading a book or something, whatever, it's all good. But I like to take some sips in between the meal prep so I don't have to worry about drinking it later. So we're going to add some citrus here. 2 limes, and however you like to juice your limes, juice your limes. I like this little thing. I got it for Nate for Christmas. The citrus reamer fits on any wide mouth mason jar, and I just found it at our local kitchen store. I'm sure you could find something similar on Amazon, but this is a really cool little tool, and we have a small mason jar to catch the juice for our limes. Now, I like to also add a little apple cider vinegar to my dressings. There are some people who don't want to be using apple cider vinegar, and that's totally fine. Just maybe add an extra lime to it if you want, or not. It's totally up to you. Remember that any dressing can totally be customized to you. You are the creator. You can swap things out. You can swap out lemons for limes, for oranges, any citrus, that works. Anything that's sour tends to work as replacement. If you don't like dates, you could use soaked apricots or figs, other fruit. You could just do mangoes. You could use raisins. There's all different kinds, but you always want to make sure that you have enough calories in your dressing so you don't have hunger a couple hours after. I'm adding a little bit of coconut aminos to this one. Again, that's an optional ingredient. And here's another moment where you're like, I have to take this off. And it also took me a little bit of time to open this one. It was sealed right on there really good, so I was having a hard time getting that lid off. But this, again, this is just part of life. This is part of meal prep. This happens, and here I am. I'm looking for one of those little rubber things that you put on the lid to help get the lid off. I'm trying to find it. I don't know where it is. Classic stuff that happens when you are preparing food. So I wanted to keep everything intact for you guys so you get to see all of it happen in real time. So we got that apple cider open, optional ingredient. I'm just gonna add a couple tablespoons or so to the dressing. At this point, I'm thinking, what else do I want to put in our dressing? I had a jalapeno that was laying around that needed to be used, so I decided to put that in there too, make it a little extra spicy since we already added that one little hot pepper. Now, when you're using jalapeno, if you like it spicy, just put it in whole like I just did. But if you don't like it spicy, then take the seeds and the pith out. So de-seed it and take out that white part because that is what makes it extra spicy. Then I grabbed a bunch of seasonings. I've got onion powder, smoked paprika, and some mustard powder. And I'm just going to kind of wing it. I'm adding 2 teaspoons of the onion powder. And I added about a teaspoon of the smoked paprika. I also decided to add some chili powder. There was a lot that went on that one. I love to just experiment with dressings and add extra of certain spices and try different flavors, maybe adding ginger or celery seed. And I decided I wanted to try adding a little bit of thyme to this one. And I shook a little bit of the celery seed in there. And of course, mustard powder. I love adding mustard powder to most of my dressings. About half a teaspoon I added to this one. Putting the spices away and grabbing others. I've got some peppercorns that I added in there, about a quarter teaspoon worth. I still got to put stuff away as well, so that's another thing that I'm doing kind of behind the scenes that you're not seeing. Adding some chia seeds to make sure we get our omega-3s. And here we go. We're ready to blend. Couldn't get it on that Vitamix. Poured about just over a cup of water into the blender. And right now I'm actually grabbing a little bit more of the purified water just in case I need to add a little bit extra, because I do like these fat-free or low-fat dressings to have a little bit more water in them, so they're a thinner, kind of like a vinaigrette style. So we're gonna blend this up for approximately 30 seconds or so, and I'm gonna take some jars out of the cupboard that we use for our dressings. They're easy to use, they're not super heavy, and they're just the perfect amount of dressing for our salads. Once that is finished blending, then I'll just pour those into the appropriate glass jars so that we can have those portioned for the two of us. And it's really nice, like when one of us has to go out, we need to take our lunch with us, we don't have to split anything. It's already split between the two of us, so we could just take if we need to run errands or take off with our lunch. Or when Nate was working at the farm, we would do this every single morning. We'd get up, we'd prep everything for the day, and he would just take his lunch to work with him. It was so nice, especially for me, not wanting to make my lunch at lunchtime. Even though I work from home, I still don't want to make lunch at lunchtime. I just want to be able to eat and continue working if I'm in a flow. The last thing I want to do is to go spend 20, 25 minutes in the kitchen. Another thing that I like about doing all the food prep all at once is that you're only chopping once. You're only blending at one time. You are not doing this 3 times a day where you're washing all your knives 3 times, when you're chopping everything 3 times. You don't have to do that 3 times. You can do it once a day and it saves so much more time. Make sure you drink your smoothie. I always have to make sure that I remember to. And we're moving on to the dinner dressing. Now, when I plan the day, I plan it so that we're doing fruit for breakfast, and the lunch dressing is a low-fat dressing, and then the dinner dressing is a little bit of fats in the dressing. This one, again, remember that we're splitting this between Nate and I. So it's 2 servings of dressing. We're using about a quarter, just a little over a quarter cup worth of hemp seeds. And we're adding a few dates to this one. So 3 dates should be good, and we like to buy big cases of dates. They're around $40 to $50 for a big case, and it lasts us about 3 weeks or so. We'll order those, we'll put them into those little green containers and have them in the fridge, and we just go in there when we need our dates every single day. Now I'm adding a little bit of miso to our dressing, approximately 2 tablespoons or so. I mean, it's not exact. I don't like to measure exact unless I'm creating a specific recipe. But when it's just us eating, we just kind of wing it and just put whatever we want into our dressings. So there was the miso. And we are going to go on to the lemons. I'm going to use some lemon juice this time. Another thing that helps a lot is to have a little bowl or bucket for all your compost. This helps a lot in meal prep because you're not constantly opening the cupboard or trying to get under the sink or what have you to deal with all of the stuff that you have left over. This is about a little over a quarter cup worth of lemon juice that we're adding to this dressing. And again, I'm rinsing right now the little jar and the lid so it doesn't get sticky. It's just really easy to rinse and put it away because I don't want to have to deal with that after. Here we go again with the garlic. You could actually just peel all the garlic that you need at one moment instead of doing it twice like I did in this video, and just set it aside if you need to for the next dressing. That way you're not doing it twice. At this point, I'm trying to figure out what else I want to put in this dressing. Again, this is not a recipe that we have in any of our books. I'm just kind of looking around the kitchen, seeing what else I could put in here. So I put a little bit of dulse flakes in the dressing to make it sort of sea flavored, sort of like a Caesar. And then I grabbed more of the seasonings that I wanted to add into this. I decided to go kind of ranchy, like it's kind of a mix between a ranch and a Caesar, sort of. And for those of you who are curious, who would like to try any of these recipes, I will go through and write down what exactly I put in everything so that you can make it at home too. If you like recipes like this, feel free to head over to payhip.com/rawfoodromance. We have well over 600 raw vegan recipes. Here I'm adding 2 teaspoons of onion powder, followed by about half a teaspoon of mustard powder. But if you wanted to try any more extra recipes, definitely head over there. You can get 40% off any of the digital ebooks with code RAWFOOD40 and download them instantly. You'll have access to them on any of your devices that you want to download them onto and make some awesome raw recipes. This one I decided to add a little bit of cucumber as well to the dressing and some apple cider vinegar. Again, you could use more lemon juice if you wanted to, just adding a couple tablespoons. And what next? What do I put in here next? Oh, black peppercorns. You could even add a little bit of turmeric. It doesn't totally change the flavor, but it's really good to add that anti-inflammatory herb to your meals. This is a coastal blend. It's kind of like a ranch seasoning flavor that we got locally, and it's salt-free, so there's chives and onions, that kind of thing. I leave the parsley and dill out because I don't want to blend them fully in first. I like to leave fresh herbs or herbs that can get bitter. I like to leave them out until everything's blended, add them last, and then just pulse them in. So I added about a cup and a half of water. You can totally use as much or as little water as you want in your dressings. If you use a very, very small amount of water, then you'll have a really thick dressing, which is great for a dip. You could use dips instead if you really wanted to, or you could add even more water so it's kind of more vinaigrette style or liquidy, a thinner dressing. Now I've taken out our containers. We've been reusing these containers for years, the same containers. I like to test my dressing and it's epic. I love it. So I'm going to add a little bit of dill. Probably, I think it was around 2 tablespoons worth of dill and about a tablespoon worth of fresh parsley. I then put the spices back into the cupboard and started looking around for some other things that I could potentially add to the dressing. Now, there are some spices that you might not be able to find everywhere, but I do like to shop at silkroad.ca. I think it's silkroadspices.ca, and they have this dill pollen, and I decided to add a little bit of cayenne pepper to give it a little bit of a kick. So the dill pollen is really dilly. It's like extra dill, like dill pickled potato chips kind of. So delicious. If you can ever find some dill pollen, definitely grab some because it is worth having if you like really dill flavored things. So add a little, maybe about half a teaspoon of the dill pollen and 1/8 of a teaspoon of the cayenne pepper. You always want to start slow with the spices. You can always add more after, but it's really hard to take it away if it ends up being too spicy. So we'll blend those up, just give it a couple seconds of a pulse, and it's ready to pour into our jars. One for me and one for Nate. Then it's time to rinse out the Vitamix one last time because we are done using it for the day. That easy, get it all done, ready to go, and you don't have to worry about doing anything else for the rest of the day. Then all we have to do is chop up all of the produce for our salads. We're going to have 2 different salads today. One will be sort of a fruiting vegetable salad with romaine lettuce, and the other one will have our rougher, darker greens because I find those do really well with the dressings with the fats in them. Taking another sip out of my smoothie and moving on to chopping the veggies. We're going to start off with the lettuce, of course. And I'm also going to set out all of the containers for the 4 salads. Again, a salad for me for lunch, salad for Nate for lunch, salad for me for dinner, and a salad for Nate for dinner. So we're going to have 4 containers plus separate containers for the tomatoes. I don't like to put the tomatoes in with the lettuces and the sprouts because it kind of gets a little bit soggy. So I like to keep the tomatoes and any really, really wet ingredients in their own container away from the lettuce. So we have this OXO spin colander to wash our lettuce. I'm putting a little bit of the Norwex fruit and veggie wash. You could use vinegar, you can use baking soda, whatever you want to use to wash your lettuce. That's what we use in our house, just a small little bit. We're going to fill it with cool water, not cold, but not warm. We're going to fill that with water. And in the wintertime, we like to fill it with sort of warm water so that the lettuce isn't absolutely freezing from the fridge. You can always take your food out of the fridge, your dressing, your boxes of lettuce, your chopped veggies, about an hour before actually eating if you find that you don't like freezing cold salads, because the dressing is going to be cold, the lettuce will be cold. So take it out about an hour before you eat so that things can come to room temperature. We are going to be using 3 heads of romaine lettuce as the base for our salads, mainly the lunch salad. We're going to split this between lunch, and there will be a little bit of lettuce in the evening one with our kale because it'll be left over in the colander. But here we go. This is how I love to chop the romaine lettuce. I don't wash it right away. I chop it first, just because it's easier to chop the lettuce this way for us than it is to wash it first. You can do whatever you want. If you feel it's easier for you to wash the lettuce first and then chop it, definitely do that. But this is the fastest way that we have discovered to do the lettuce. And I just use this flex sheet to put the chopped lettuce into our little colander there. So as you can see, it's really fast to chop these heads of lettuce. And when we go on long road trips and we have to chop 18 heads of lettuce and vacuum seal them for our road trips, this is the fastest, easiest, most efficient way that we know to do the lettuce. So this is why we do it this way. Here we go, the 3rd head of lettuce. Chop it lengthwise first, and then turn it to the side and chop it crosswise. If you like thinner, kind of shaved lettuce, just chop thinner pieces. Or if you like it thicker, chunky lettuce, then you could chop it thicker, of course. Another pro tip is to always keep your knives sharp. Sharpen your knives as often as possible. We sharpen ours a couple times every week. Once we get the lettuce into the colander, then I just kind of mix it in the water a little bit, and I'll just let that soak while we chop the other ingredients for our salads. Now, the next ingredient that I decided to put into our salads is going to take a little bit more time than I would have wanted. If I didn't have to deal with these green onions, then I would have only had maybe 45 minutes worth of video, because sometimes food goes bad or you buy too much of it and you just can't use it all up right away. Again, this is another reason why I didn't want to take this out of this video, because I wanted it to be in real time. We are real people dealing with real situations, and we like to buy our green onions in really big packages because we go through a lot of green onions, at least 1 to 2 bunches, classic bunches, every single day. So we do get really big bags of green onions, but sometimes they go bad a little quicker than we'd like them to. So we do peel off that extra leaf that is going bad, and this can take 5 to 10 extra minutes for us to do. And again, if you just had a bunch of green onions that you chopped up, I'm sure this would save 5 to 10 minutes, but I wanted to include this to show you that this happens too. And despite having to do all of this extra work that I really didn't want to do, but I did anyways because I love green onions, then this video wouldn't be an hour. I would have been able to do all of the prep work in around 45 minutes. So again, these are things that happen in real life. Maybe you have children and they require your attention. You have to leave the kitchen to go deal with something. That's fine too, as long as you make it a priority to do things for your health. You are top priority. Your family is top priority. And making good, healthy food is top priority. Try to schedule it in if you can. It only takes a little bit of time. It doesn't have to be as time consuming as many people think it is. And again, there are different kinds of recipes. There's quick, easy ones like what I'm doing here with you. And this is the bulk of our days. Most days end up being a smoothie, fruit for snacks, a low-fat or no-fat lunch salad, and then another salad for dinner with different ingredients and a dressing with a little bit of fats in it. This is a standard day. We love to eat as much variety as we possibly can. We try to get as many different plant varieties in our diet every week that we possibly can. The people who eat more than 30 different varieties of plant foods every week have the strongest gut microbiome. So the more variety that you can get into your diet, the happier your gut microbiome becomes and the stronger your immunity becomes. They produce more of the happy hormones, all that good stuff. Now, I don't really like the white part of the green onions. That's why I'm composting a lot of it. It's just a little bit too intense. We really like the green part, and we use, again, a lot of green onions. So I'm just going to chop these up, and I will separate them into the 4 containers for Nate and I. Nate doesn't like as many as I do. He still loves them, but I do like to have a little bit extra of the green onions. And in this time of the season, there's a lot of garlic scapes around too, which is like the garlic version of green onions. I didn't add them to this because we need to go to the farmer's market and grab some more, but typically lately we've been eating a lot of garlic scapes in our salads. And this is a prime example of why I like to do the meal prep all at once, because I just chopped all the green onions for both lunch and dinner without having to do it again at dinner time. I'd have to go into the bag and deal with all of that again at dinner time. And after a really long day at work, I don't necessarily want to be doing that. It's not as enticing, but first thing in the morning when you're fresh and you're ready to go, that's the best time to do the meal prep. Moving on to the rest of our lunch salad specifically, that's what we're working on right now. I have 2 bell peppers. This one had kind of a funky top, but I'm going to use it anyways. And we have the aloha pepper that's kind of a mix of red and yellow. Now, I like to have what I call a fruiting vegetable salad. So vegetables that are actually fruit, bell peppers, zucchini, cucumber, tomato. These are all fruits. We do classify them as vegetables because a long time ago there was a tax, and to change the tax on these kinds of foods, we labeled them as vegetables to avoid that. So they are actually fruit, and that's why I call it a fruiting vegetable salad, because I like to put bell pepper, tomato, cucumber, and sometimes zucchinis into my lunch salad. It's a lot lighter, and I tend to have the more rough stuff, the cabbages, the broccoli, the kales with the dinner salad. So here we'll just chop half of a bell pepper from each color each. So we're each getting 1 bell pepper worth in our lunch salads. Now, of course, there's tons of different kitchen tools that you can get and have fun with for easier food prep. I just like using the knife and the cutting board because I do get into a meditative state with my food. I like to just sit and enjoy the process for the most part. Or I will listen to a book on tape. But you can get easy tools to help you chop bell peppers, tomatoes. You can use a food processor if you want to. Anything that could make your life a little bit easier, definitely check them out. There's lots of cool little gadgets in kitchen stores or online. If you find anything like a magic chopper or special knives that cut different ways or what have you, definitely check them out to help with your food prep if it does help you. If you aren't the biggest fan of just chopping with a cutting board and a knife, then those might be options for you. Next up, I've got the cucumbers. Long English cucumbers are our favorites. They are a little bit less bitter, but we do like the bitterness of the other ones. We just have to peel the other ones because they put a wax on the field cucumbers. I like to use a small knife when I do cucumbers. They're a lot easier to cut because they don't stick to the knife like they do when it's a big one. You could cut them in half or in quarters like I'm doing right now. I'll just add those to our containers. We also really like using the spiralizer to make spiralized cucumbers for our salads. They add such a cool texture to salads, and they are definitely one of our favorite things to add to lunch or dinner salads. Cucumber noodles, I find, are a lot more enjoyable. I will eat zucchini noodles if they are available or if somebody makes them for me. I will do it, but I 100% prefer cucumber noodles. So if you haven't tried cucumber noodles, just cucumber spiralized through a spiralizer, they are so delicious, very fresh, and they taste great with a dressing all over them. If we do decide to use spiralized cucumbers in our lunch salads, then we tend to put them in the same container as the tomatoes or in their own separate container, just because they do tend to take up a little bit of space and they're really watery, so they store really well with the tomatoes. Next up, I'm checking the fridge to see what else I could put in either lunch or dinner salad, and I found some celery sticks. I do like to chop off the ends because I have seen them get a little black or moldy and I don't like that, so I always chop off the ends just in case, and then thinly chop the celery, and we'll add this one to our dinner salad. And we didn't have any sprouts going because we are getting ready to go on a long road trip to Vegas to find a new house to live in. So we hadn't started any sprouts and we ate all the sprouts we had. But at this point, this is where I would add sprouts to both lunch and dinner. We tend to eat sprouts daily. Lentil sprouts, radish sprouts, broccoli sprouts, mung bean, you name it, we will make it, and we like to have them in our salads. We also really love radishes. This one here, this really cool colored pink and green radish, is a watermelon radish. They aren't available everywhere, so you could just use the little red ones if you want to, but we like to chop these up into little cubes or thinly sliced with the mandolin. I decided to go cubes today because it was easier than grabbing the mandolin and doing thin slices that way. I never used to actually like radishes when I first went raw. They were something that I avoided for many years, but after moving down here to Oregon, I noticed that they had these watermelon radishes and they were so pretty, so I thought I'd give them a chance, and I just fell in love with all radishes. I didn't realize or even remember because my taste buds changed when I went raw. I didn't like them in the beginning because I just wasn't used to the bitterness or the spiciness, but now I love them. I've got these little classic red radishes that I'm going to thinly slice. Again, you could use a mandolin if you want, or just your knife and cutting board. And I'm going to layer them into the dinner salad just for extra fiber, for variety, for flavor, and of course for prettiness. I try to keep things as easy as possible while still having a lot of variety in our diets. Because I believe plant diversity is one of the top indicators of gut health, we do like to have a wide variety of different plant foods in our diets all the time. I even got a little bit of red onion left over after yesterday's burgers, which I will chop up and add as well. Almost forgot that I wanted to use this onion up. I don't really like the centers. They are a little bit strong, so I do take those out. And then we'll just mince this onion up and add it as well. So even though this might not be as simple as some people might like, I do personally believe that the more variety that we have, the stronger our immune system becomes, because our gut microbiomes provide us 70% of our immunity. So they are incredibly important, and they thrive on fiber. Every plant fiber requires a different group of bacteria to digest, and they digest the fiber. Our bodies do not digest fiber. So if people are having a little bit of problems with certain fibers, like they have problems digesting kale or broccoli, radishes, the rougher veggies, even onions and garlic, that kind of thing, it can simply be because they don't have the microbiome yet, keyword yet, to properly digest larger amounts of these foods. So it's not the food that's bad, it's just that you have an imbalanced gut microbiome and you just need to properly grow the gut microbes to digest larger amounts of certain foods. So if radishes, for example, bother you, try only doing 3 small slivers or a really small radish in your salad instead of a lot. If broccoli bothers you, don't eat 2 or 3 whole cups all at once. Start with 1 little floret in your salad, or chop it up really fine and add it into your salad. Or even start with broccoli microgreens or broccoli sprouts. That would be a really easy way to start introducing more broccoli into your diet. You want to start slow. Just do little amounts of the foods that might be irritating just to start growing those bacteria. And then over the weeks and months, you can slowly add more and more as your body is able to digest, or as your microbiome is able to digest larger amounts of certain foods. We are now adding some carrots. You can always buy loose carrots and chop them yourself, but I find that it's easy to buy the pre-made ingredients for those extra busy times, because I would have to wash the carrots and grate these myself if I wanted to add carrots to my salads. So we do like to buy carrots that are already grated so we can just grab and put into the container. The same goes for cabbage, which I'm going to add next to our dinner salad. We eat cabbage every single day, most of the time twice a day. So cabbage is definitely a top one for our diet. We didn't used to be able to eat a lot of cabbage. Again, we had to start slow with the cabbage, and now we can eat cups and cups of it and not have any digestive upset. But it's like working out at the gym. You don't start off lifting 75 pounds right off the bat. You have to start slow. Start with 5 pounds. Start with 1 pound if you have to. Start slow, and as the weeks go on, then you slowly increase the amount that you're working out with, just like you slowly increase the amount of fiber that you're eating. So start obviously with the foods that are easier for you to digest, and slowly increase things like this kale This is black kale. This is my favorite kale. I think it's also called Lissatarian kale or dinosaur kale. These ones are the best. I like to destem my kale. It's a lot easier to eat this way, but you can obviously do however you desire. But again, remember, it's not the food that's quote unquote bad for us. It's just the fact that we might not have adequate bacteria to digest all of the extra fiber that we're putting into our bodies, especially if we're coming from a diet that was really low in fiber, like a standard North American diet, or if we've been under eating or fasting long term. That has been depriving our gut microbiome of fiber, and that is their food. So if we care about every cell in our body, not only do we want to flush our body with awesome nutrition, lots of vitamins and minerals, but we also want to feed our good bacteria fiber, and they thrive on raw plant fiber and they thrive on variety. So we want to get as much as we can in there. But in the beginning, just work with your gut microbiome where it's at and slowly increase as you go so that you have a lot of variety in your diet. Again, this according to Dr. B, who wrote Fiber Fueled, he says that the indication of a strong and healthy gut is a wide variety of plant foods in your diet. So get that variety in, my friends. I'm gonna throw this in the compost. We have some little pig friends, some rescue pigs that enjoy our scraps, so we keep them in a bucket and send them over there. We will have to find an animal sanctuary near Vegas that we could take some of our scraps to, if that's possible, or start a compost in our yard. We are looking for a place with a yard so that we can grow some food in the back and have a compost. Finally, it'll be so nice to have that, but we will miss the pigs because they do enjoy our food. So I'm going to spin dry this romaine lettuce. This salad spinner is just so worth it. We love, 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 love this salad spinner. And we don't always wash the romaine hearts. We do wash whole heads of romaine when they're organic, or when we see that there's visible dirt on the lettuce, we will make sure to wash it. But we don't always wash, especially if we're in a really big hurry. We will just chop the hearts and eat them as is. Now, obviously, I don't recommend this to everybody. If you want to make sure that you have clean food, clean your food. But if you don't mind, then don't clean it. It's totally up to you how far you want to go with the cleaning. But multiple times we've made salads where we don't even bother washing the romaine hearts. They come in a pack of 6 are the ones that we like to get. You can get them at Costco. We get ours at a restaurant wholesale store. So we typically don't wash most of the time. But I am washing these ones because there was a little bit of dirt on them, so I wanted to make sure they were clean. I don't like to have little gritty sand or dirt in my salads. But now we're gonna add these to the containers, and I like to stuff them as full as possible. And even if they're a little bit overflowing, the lid will push the excess down. So let's just get that into the containers. Once I got all of the romaine lettuce into the containers, I'm moving on to washing the kale. So put all that into the container and fill it with water and a little bit of the fruit and veg wash. While the kale is soaking for a few minutes, I will put the lids on top of our lunch salads. Takes a little bit of finesse, but everything fits just nicely. And now we just have to spin dry our kale after rinsing it a little bit more. And we'll add that to our dinner salad containers. There is a little bit of romaine left in our spinner because I wasn't able to get it all into the containers. I'm sure I could if I tried, but while that is spinning dry, just rinse everything. Like I said, rinse as you go. It makes cleanup so much easier, and raw foods are extra easy to clean up. And just wiping the counter really quick here, because the only thing that I had to clean after all was said and done was the little bowl that we were putting our compost in and the salad spinner. So it was a really easy cleanup, very quick, because the Vitamix was already clean, the counter was already clean, everything was already good to go. So nice, and it's so fulfilling to have everything that clean. So we're gonna add this kale to these boxes, again, just like the other lettuce. You could always have separate containers as well. This is just how we do it. Everyone's going to do it differently. Everyone's going to have different containers. You might want to use glass. Again, these have been recycled. We've been using them for years, about 3 years we've been using these containers. They are perfect size for a decent salad, and they are lightweight, so they're really easy to travel with. We like to take them on our hikes because exactly that they're lightweight. And the lids snap on pretty well, so they're really, really nice to have, and that's what we like to use. But you'll use whatever you like to use, and it will be all good. We're gonna put some lids on these, and we will get on to the final step in our marathon meal prep for the day, which will be doing the tomatoes. So we've got 2 containers here because Nate and I are actually going to split the tomatoes. Neither one of us are leaving today. We just have a lot of work to do. So we are going to be splitting them, and I don't need to put it into 4 containers. We're going to have 1 tomato each for each lunch and dinner salad. So we're going to chop these heirloom tomatoes. These are the best tomatoes. They're so delicious. I love heirlooms. Definitely my top favorite. I'm going to chop these and add them to the containers, which, as I mentioned, we will be splitting at lunch and at dinner time. Now, I have had people ask if there are alternatives to tomatoes because I do use a lot of tomatoes in my salads. And of course, if you are sensitive to tomatoes or you don't want to have tomatoes in your salads, you are more than welcome to use something else that you enjoy, like cucumbers, zucchini. Again, the possibilities are there for you. You can add more lettuce. You could add more sprouts. You could add whatever you want to your salads. It's definitely up to you. But we do use a lot of tomatoes, and we do have some dressings that have tomatoes as a base. There aren't very many of them. And if in those cases, you could always use mango as well, because tomato is a fruit, and when they're really ripe, they do have a little bit of a sweetness, especially these yellow ones, and the orange tomatoes, they're so good. But you could use mango if you wanted to in your salad. You could also use tamarind if you wanted to have a little bit of that tomatoey tart flavor in your dressings, but you can skip those ones if you feel, and if the salad calls for tomatoes, just replace them with other veggies or fruits that you want. You can also add berries to your salad if you want, or figs, peaches, plums, raisins. It's all good. You can add whatever you want to your salad. I personally don't follow food combining charts because, again, I believe in plant diversity, and food combining charts are really good for people who have lower gut microbiome activity and they need to follow the charts because they are in the process of building up their variety. So they are good in those instances, but I personally believe as you grow your gut microbiome, you'll be able to tolerate wider varieties of foods all at one time, which is a sign of health. So we're gonna cover these up, and there we go. We have everything done. We made our smoothie, we made our lunch dressing, we made our dinner dressing, and we made our salads for 2 people in just under 1 hour. We got everything done and we're ready to go. So here we have it. It's all ready to go. I'm just gonna put this into the fridge and wait till lunch. This is seriously the greatest feeling ever. When your lunch is made and you are in a workflow, but you need your fuel, you can just go in the fridge and grab it and put it into your salad bowl. It looks gorgeous because we like to put all of the fun, colorful ingredients first in the container and the lettuce last, so the lettuce becomes the base. But all we gotta do is dump it into our bowl, rinse out our containers, and pour on the dressing. And once we have our main ingredients all in our salad, then we can add our tomatoes and the dressing. There's nothing quite like just building the salad when it's lunchtime and getting that delicious dressing poured on without having to do a full interruption of your workflow. So this is our lunch, just pouring that dressing on, and we will enjoy a delicious salad in the middle of our day. We also had some snacks in between lunch and dinner. We each had a mango and about 2 cups worth of grapes. These are the cotton candy grapes. They are delicious. And then we had dinner time, just put our bowls out there. And because it's already prepped, we just have to dump our veggies into each bowl and pour on that dressing. This is another reason why we like to prepare everything ahead of time, because after a long workday, we really don't feel like making a salad sometimes, and we just like to have it already done and ready to go. This really helps when you have a long workday and you just want to have a nice, beautiful dinner, but you don't want to spend the time fixing it up. You already did that first thing in the morning when you have most of your energy. So I take a little bit extra time because I like to move things around to make sure it looks photo ready for Instagram for all you guys, but this is just kind of what I like to do. You obviously don't have to spend an extra minute arranging everything, but you can if you want to, obviously. It's totally up to you. Then after getting all of our ingredients in there nicely, we can pour on our delicious dill dream dressing. This dressing, again, the recipe is in the description of this video, but we are also going to be adding it to the brand new meal planning app, which is going to be available Saturday, June 26th, 2021. So if you want to sign up for it, it's $5 a month, and we're going to be adding new recipes every month to this app. You'll be able to select the recipes you want. It'll generate a grocery list so you can shop for the meals that you plan into there, and you'll be able to have all your recipes ready to go. You can prep everything in the morning just like this video, and you can have all of your meals ready to go to enjoy during your busy day. So here we have the salad. We're just going to enjoy a movie tonight while we eat this, just mixing it up. All the carrots, the cabbage, the kale, the tomatoes, the radishes, and that delicious dill dressing. Wonderful, wonderful evening meal. And we got a lot of variety in today. Our main goal is to get a lot of plant diversity in every day. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. See, 10% fats, almost 2,300 calories. Normally we have sprouts in our salads, but we didn't have any made up right now today. So that would have increased our calories and our protein as well. And among other things, more minerals, vitamins, but our calcium's up there. For selenium, we could have had half a Brazil nut. Our fiber right up there at 92 grams. Our fats looking great. Lots of omega-3s from the lettuce and the chia seeds. And our protein, 54 grams. My RDA is 46, so this is great. Here are some examples of the top sources of protein in our diet. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please click like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And you can find us on Instagram, Raw Food Romance and Nice Cream King. You can also click the link in the description box below if you're interested in any of our recipes. You can find the 40% off code in the description box. It's rawfood40 and the link down there as well. So hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you soon again.